Okay, we'll start our meeting with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Hello, Peter.
Almost late for you.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. I'd like to get started with the agenda, if I may.
Yes.
And the first item on the agenda is warrants and claims, which have been audited and are presented to you for your final approval for payment. I have a motion to accept the warrants and claims.
I make a motion.
Thank you, Trustee Belvin.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Trustee Natale. Trustee Walsh.
Yes.
Trustee Micro.
Yes.
Trustee Natale.
Yes.
Trustee DiBartolomeo.
Yes.
Trustee Belvin.
Yes.
Mayor Minicozzi.
Yes.
The next item on the agenda are required meeting minutes, the minutes from the February 27th meeting, February 27th, 2023 meeting, and they're put for you for approval.
Move to accept the prior meeting minutes.
Thank you, Trustee Nigro.
And second?
Thank you, Trustee DiBartolomeo. Trustee Walsh.
Yes.
Trustee Nigro.
Yes.
Trustee DiNatale.
Yes.
Trustee DiBartolomeo.
Yes.
Trustee Valsecchi.
Yes.
Mayor Minicozzi.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is a proposal to pave the upper section of the boat ramp at West Harbor. The resolution would be to approve the proposal from Hope Brothers for a total cost of $5,400.
I make a motion to accept that proposal.
Thank you, Trustee Belvin.
My second?
Thank you, Trustee Bartolomeo. Trustee Walsh.
Yes.
Trustee Nigro.
Yes.
Trustee DiNatale.
Yes.
Trustee Bartolomeo.
Yes.
Trustee Valsecchi.
Yes.
Mayor Minicozzi.
Yes.
The next item on the agenda is for the paving of the DPW driveway area from School Street back to the village, enter the village hall building here. The total cost is not to exceed $27,000. The village will be using ARPA funds to cover the cost of this project.
I make a motion to accept the proposal. I second.
Thank you, Trustee Natale, and thank you, Trustee Nigro. Trustee Walsh.
Yes.
Trustee Nigro.
Yes.
Trustee Natale.
Yes.
Trustee DiBartolomeo.
Yes.
Trustee Valsecchi.
Yes.
Mayor Minicozzi.
Yes.
The next item on the agenda is a request from the American Legion to hold the Memorial Day Parade on Monday, May 29, 2023. They would like to assemble at the Village Green at noon, and they will have a ceremony at 12:30, and they will begin their march by 1 p.m. Their route will be the same as in previous years, north of School Street, east on Bayville Avenue to Sunnyside Beach.
I make a motion?
Thank you, Trustee DiBartolomeo.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Trustee Natale. Trustee Walsh.
Yes.
Trustee Nigro.
Yes.
Trustee Natale.
Yes.
Trustee DiBartolomeo.
Yes.
Trustee Valsecchi.
Yes.
Mayor Minicozzi.
Yes.
The next item on the agenda is a proposal from GPRS to provide leak detection services for our water distribution service. It's a total of $8,150, which includes the work, scanning, field markings, etc., and a formal report.
I make a motion to accept the leak detection proposal.
Thank you, Trustee
I'll
Valsecchi.
second.
Thank you, Trustee Walsh. Trustee Walsh.
Yes.
Trustee Nigro.
Yes.
Trustee DiNatale.
Yes.
Trustee DiBartolomeo.
Yes.
Trustee Valsecchi.
Yes.
Mayor Minicozzi.
Yes.
The next item on the agenda is a proposal from H2M to prepare the bid for the annual emergency water main repair contract. The total cost of the proposal is $2,900. The existing annual emergency water main repair contract expires December 31st, 2023. And this is the contract that we currently have with the Westfield Pipe and Construction. Do I have-
I'll make a motion to accept the proposal from H2O.
Thank you.
And a
Trustee
second.
Vitale, thank you, trustee Bartolomeo. Trustee Walsh,
Yes.
trustee Nigro,
Yes.
trustee Di Natale,
Yes.
trustee Bartolomeo,
Yes.
trustee Delsecki,
Yes.
Mayor Minicozzi.
Yes.
The next item on the agenda is the introduction of proposed local law 2023, which is proposed local law F 2023, which is an amendment to chapter 72 trees of the code of the village of Bayville. And we'd like to, not only that it's introduced, that a hearing date be set for April 24th, 2023. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Thank you, trustee Delsecki.
And a second.
Thank you, trustee Bartolomeo, trustee Walsh,
Yes.
trustee Nigro,
Yes.
trustee Di Natale,
Yes.
trustee Bartolomeo,
Yes.
trustee Delsecki,
Yes.
Mayor Minicozzi.
Yes.
The next item on the agenda is the introduction of proposed local law G 2023 to amend chapter 3, and he does possess the required CDL license.
I make a motion.
Thank you, trustee Bartolomeo.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, trustee Di Natale, trustee Walsh,
Yes.
trustee Nigro,
Yes.
trustee Di Natale,
Yes.
trustee Bartolomeo,
Yes.
trustee Delsecki.
Yes.
Mayor Minicozzi.
Yes.
The next item on the agenda is a resolution to increase the fee for has been called to date the tennis pass, and we're going to call it the tennis pickleball pass, from $35 a season to $75 a season.
I make a motion.
Thank you, trustee Bartolomeo.
I'll second.
Thank you, trustee Delsecki, trustee Walsh,
Yes.
trustee Nigro,
Yes.
trustee Di Natale,
Yes.
trustee Di Bartolomeo,
Yes.
trustee Delsecki,
Yes.
Mayor Minicozzi.
Yes.
The time for the hearing today. The next item on the agenda is the hire of the lifeguards. The summer is coming. You have before you a list of lifeguards with proposed hourly raises. These lifeguards, I'm just double checking, with most are returning lifeguards. We do have a few new lifeguards. And they've all been, this is all in review with David Rupp, who acts as our lifeguard captain. And so that these can be processed in Nassau County Civil Service, I would like a resolution authorizing the hiring of these lifeguards.
I'll so move.
Thank you,
Second.
trustee Nigro. I'm sorry.
Second.
Thank you, trustee Delsecki. Trustee Walsh,
Yes.
trustee Nigro,
Yes.
trustee Di Natale,
Yes.
trustee Di Bartolomeo,
Yes.
trustee Delsecki,
Yes.
Mayor Minicozzi.
Yes.
The next item on the agenda is a request from the St. Richard Roman Catholic Church, and they're requesting to hold the Easter Sunday, April 9th, sunrise mass on the beach at West Harbor Beach. They have done this in the past. The mass is scheduled to begin at sunrise, approximately 6:30 a.m., and would end at approximately 7:30 a.m. They are requesting use of the facilities, electric power, and restrooms.
I make a motion.
Thank you, trustee Di
I'll
Bartolomeo.
second.
Thank you, trustee Nigro. Trustee Walsh.
Yes.
Trustee Nigro.
Yes.
Trustee Di Natale.
Yes.
Trustee Di Bartolomeo.
Yes.
Trustee Delsecki.
Yes.
Mayor Minicozzi.
Yes.
At this time, I'd like to start the hearing for the tentative budget. It was scheduled for 6:40 p.m. So I will read the notice. Notice is hereby given that the Board of Trustees of the Incorporated Village of Bayville will hold a public hearing commencing at 6:40 p.m. on Monday, March 27, 2023 at the Village Hall, 34 School Street, Bayville, New York, 11709. The purpose of said hearing is for the Board of Trustees to consider the tentative budget for the fiscal year ending May 31st, 2024. Pursuant to Section 5-508 of the Village Law, the tentative budget has been prepared and is available for inspection during regular business hours, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday at the office of the village clerk. The tentative budget includes the following: maximum compensation of $2,500 per annum for the mayor, maximum compensation of $1,500 per annum for each trustee, appropriations for Bayville Fire Company Number 1 Incorporated, and appropriations for the Bayville Free Library. By order of the Board of Trustees, Incorporated Village of Bayville, Maria Alpana Party Village Clerk Treasurer, and the notice is due on March 7th. There is an affidavit of publication and posting for the record. Mayor Nicosi, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. So I just want to point out that in presenting this budget, the village board and the clerk and the village staff, we worked very hard to put this budget together despite many obstacles the same obstacles that the average homeowner is facing with the high cost of inflation. We had a very large increase in our health insurance premiums in the neighborhood of roughly $150,000. We faced rising energy costs in our fuel oil bills, our natural gas, our electric costs are up in the neighborhood of about $50,000. And as I said, we worked very hard to put this budget together, and I'm proud to say that we kept it within the 2% cap. Does anybody have any questions?
If there are no further questions, I'm going to ask for a.
Wait, question.
Could you please give us your name
Yes,
and address?
My name is Kevin Casey. I'm here with my wife's family, live at 381 Bayville Avenue.
This is in regards to the budget, right?
Yes, it is.
Kevin Casey, I'm sorry, Mr. Casey,
Yes,
and 381 Bayville Avenue.
yes.
Thank you.
You know what, I'm gonna forego, because it does include something that's not involved with this. It's partial budget, partial, so I'll wait till after.
Sure.
Keep it to the budget.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I will accept the motion then at this time to close the hearing for the budget. Let the record show it is 6:43 p.m.
Make a motion.
Thank you, Trustee DeBartolomeo.
Second?
Thank you, Trustee Delsecki. Trustee Walsh?
Yes.
Trustee Nigro?
Yes.
Trustee Natale?
Yes.
Trustee DeBartolomeo?
Yes.
Trustee Delsecki?
Yes.
Mayor Nicosi?
Yes.
There is an adjustment to be made to the insurance line item in the tentative budget. So the general insurance line item, which is A 9040800, will be increased by $12,000. I'm sorry, that's the workers' comp line will be increased by $12,000, and the general insurance line item will be increased by $33,000. That's A 1910-400. These increases are at the recommendation of our brokers, Solomon Brokerage, who reviewed the budget and what we put in for insurance premiums going forward. They pointed out to us that the reinsurers are dictating terms, conditions, and rates. The marketplace continues to be extremely challenging, and we do not know what to expect in the upcoming years. So they had asked us to adjust those numbers. So I'm going to ask for a motion to allow for the adjustments in the tentative budget for those two items.
We'll make a motion.
Thank you, Trustee Delsecki.
A second.
Thank you, Trustee Walsh. Trustee Walsh?
Yes.
Trustee Nigro?
Yes.
Trustee Natale?
Yes.
Trustee DeBartolomeo?
Yes.
Trustee Delsecki?
Yes.
Mayor Nicosi?
Yes.
And then the final motion, I will ask for a motion to adopt the budget with the change as just approved, and the rest of the budget as presented for fiscal year 2023-2024.
I make a motion.
Thank you, Trustee DeBartolomeo.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Delsecki. Trustee Walsh?
Yes.
Trustee Nigro?
Yes.
Trustee Natale?
Yes.
Trustee DeBartolomeo? Trustee Delsecki?
Yes.
Mayor Nicosi?
Yes.
Thank you. Since it is now 6:45, I'd like to move to the other hearing that we had scheduled for tonight, which is for proposed local law E-2023. I'll read the notice. Notice is hereby given that the Board of Trustees of the Incorporated Village of Bayville will hold a public hearing commencing at 6:45 p.m. on Monday, March 27, 2023, at the Village Hall, 34 School Street, Bayville, New York, 11709, with respect to the matter summarized below. Proposed local law E-2023 a local law to add new chapter 21A entitled Curfew Independence Day to the code of the Village of Bayville, which would establish a curfew for minors between the periods of 11 p.m. July 4th through 6 a.m. on July 5th each year. A copy of the proposed local law E-2023 is posted on the Village of Bayville's website, which may be found at, and the link is given in the notice. A copy is also available for viewing at the Bayville Village Hall, 34 School Street, in said village, where it may be reviewed between the hours of 8:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. From the date of this notice to the time of the hearing, persons who may suffer from a disability which would prevent them from participating in the hearing should notify Maria Alfano, Party Village Club Treasurer at 516-628-1439 in sufficient time to permit such arrangements to be made to enable such persons to participate in said hearing. By order of the Board of Trustees, Incorporated Village of Bayville, Maria Alfano, Party Village Club Treasurer. The notice is dated March 8, 2023. For the record, there is an affidavit of publication and an affidavit of posting. I will turn this over to Attorney Weiler and to Mayor Nicosi for discussion.
Thank you.
Yes, this is a revised law. It adds to the one we presently have, which basically extends the curfew on minors to Independence Day and the evening or morning hours after Independence Day. So each July 4th, any of the youngsters are going to have to, anyone who's under 19 is going to have to abide by this law. And as you all know, 4th of July is a big day around here, and sometimes, from what I understand, things get out of hand. So this way, I believe everybody believes this is a better way to keep control of those things.
Yes. Does anybody have any questions? No?
Can I suggest that we make this, if it passes, make it known to the school district and other schools?
That's a good idea, yeah.
Because the complaint has been that many of the young people who come into Bayville for that, on that night are not residents of the Village of Bayville.
Yeah.
This way the schools would know, they could tell the parents,
Yeah,
tell the
probably
students.
Oyster Bay.
Yeah.
Oyster Bay.
Suggest the first year we get some sort of
Glen Cove.
Glen Cove, probably good people to notify, and that might keep a few of the things down. So that's what the law is about. And if there are no comments, then
I'll take a motion at 6:48 p.m. to close the public hearing.
Make a motion.
Thank you, Trustee Bartolomeo.
I'll say.
Thank you, Trustee Nigro. Trustee Walsh.
Yes.
Trustee Nigro.
Yes.
Trustee DiNatale.
Yes.
Trustee Bartolomeo.
Yes.
Trustee Dawsett.
Yes.
Mayor Nicosi.
Yes.
Would you like me to read the resolution? So the following resolution is being put before you as a board. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Bayville Village Board, by resolution dated February 27, 2023, introduced the local law 2023-E for the adoption of new chapter 21-A, Curfew Independence Day of the Code of the Village of Bayville, for consideration in a public hearing to be held on March 27, 2023, at 6:45 p.m. at the Village Hall located at 34 School Street, Bayville, New York, and whereas the Village Board, in accordance with the State Environmental Quality Review Act, (SEQRA), declared itself to be lead agency and has determined that the proposed action is a Type 2 action. Now therefore be resolved that this board declares the proposed action will not result in a significant adverse impact on the environment, and further resolved that the proposed local law in 2023-E adopted as local law number 5 of the year 2023B, and the same hereby is enacted by the Board of Trustees of the Incorporated Village of Bayville as follows. And I need a motion, please.
I make a motion?
I second.
Thank you, Trustee Nigro. Trustee Walsh.
Yes.
Trustee DiNatale.
Yes.
Trustee Bartolomeo.
Yes.
Trustee Nigro, I'm sorry.
On the understanding that it will be made known to the local school districts, I vote yes.
Duly noted. Thank you, Trustee Nigro. Trustee DiNatale.
Yes.
Trustee Bartolomeo.
Yes.
Trustee Dawsett.
Yes.
Mayor Nicosi.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Board. We'll go back to the items on the agenda. We were up to the investment policy. Annually, you are, as a mayor and board, required to review the village's investment policy. No changes have been made to the investment policy since last year's review. It has been given to the village attorney for review, and if there's any need to discuss it, you may do so. Otherwise, it's before you for sign off for another year.
I'll second.
Trustee Vitale, thank you. Trustee Dawson, thank you. I'm sorry, it's Trustee Barlow. Thank you, Trustee Barlow. Trustee Walsh,
Yes.
Trustee Ventura,
Sorry. I don't know where we are. I apologize.
Reviewed and no changes.
Trustee Nigro,
Yes.
Trustee Di Vitale,
Yes.
Trustee Barlow.
Yes.
Trustee Dawson.
Yes.
Mayor Michaelozzi.
Yes.
The next item on the agenda is a proposal from Rocky Smith to perform the annual audit of the village financial records for fiscal year end May 31st, 2023. And the total fee is not to exceed $20,000. If the village is required to have an audit of its federal award programs, which would be the program, the ARPA program, that's required, then there will be an additional cost of $2,500.
I'll make the resolution to the second proposal.
Thank you, Trustee Di Vitale.
Second?
Thank you, Trustee Dawson. Trustee Walsh.
Yes.
Trustee Santoro.
Yes.
Trustee Nigro.
Yes.
Trustee Di Vitale.
Yes.
Trustee Barlow.
Yes.
Trustee Dawson.
Yes.
Mayor Michaelozzi.
Yes.
The next item is a required tank monitoring for the above ground tank. That above ground tanks that we have in the tank monitoring system certification required by Nassau County Department of Health. It's a functionality test, and it's to be performed by Global Fueling for a total cost of $3,088.52, and that's non-vote time.
I make a motion.
Thank you, Trustee Barlow.
I'll second.
Thank you, Trustee Nigro. Trustee Walsh.
Yes.
Trustee Santoro.
Yes.
Trustee Nigro.
Yes.
Trustee Di Natale.
Yes.
Trustee Barlow.
Yes.
Trustee Dawson.
Yes.
Mayor Michaelozzi.
Yes.
The next proposal is from Ultra Auto Video and Security, and this is actually some emergency or safety work that needed to be done for the village in terms of the cleanup of wiring that existed. And the amount for the proposal is $1,750, again, non-pro sum.
I make a motion.
Thank you, Trustee Barlow.
Second?
Thank you, Trustee Dawson. Trustee Walsh.
Yes.
Trustee Santoro.
Yes.
Trustee Nigro.
Yes.
Trustee Vitale.
Yes.
Trustee Barlow.
Yes.
Trustee Dawson.
Yes.
Mayor Michaelozzi.
Yes.
The next resolution, I will read, please, is a resolution that states be resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the mayor, or in his absence, the deputy mayor, to execute and deliver non-pro-tunc to a grant disbursement agreement for $225 by and between the Dormitory Authority, State of New York, DASME, and the Incorporated Village of Bayville for DASME State and Municipal Facilities Program Grant Project ID 25225 for renovations and improvements to West Harbor Memorial Park, including the purchase and installation of a new playground equipment, installation of pickleball courts, and the refurbishing of the concession stand. Again, this grant was obtained through Assemblyman Bellini, and this is the final step in securing the funding. All right, have a motion.
I make a motion.
Thank you, Trustee Barlow.
I'll second that.
Can I have just one question? What's exactly being done to the concession stand?
It's the concession stand is for the baseball, for the
Yeah.
Little League, so it's on the backside of the building. They didn't have a concession stand
Yeah.
before, so it's basically
Oh, I know, yeah.
full construction of a concession stand, a roll-up door,
Oh, good.
just.
Oh, it's needed, yeah.
Yes, there will be refrigeration, et cetera, they're paying for themselves. This is just the build out
Good.
of the space.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. So
I'm sorry, Rick.
No worries. So, trustee Walsh?
Yes.
Trustee Santoro?
Yes.
Trustee Nigro?
Yes.
Trustee Di Natale?
Yes.
Trustee DeBartolomeo? Yes. Trustee Belzetti?
Yes.
And Mayor Minnikoski.
Yes.
The next item, again, I will read, it's a resolution that's been prepared by the village attorney. Whereas the Bayville Bridge, one of two entrances in the village of Bayville, originally built in 1898, connecting Bayville and Mill Neck, replaced with the second bridge in 1904. And whereas during the later part of the 19th century and early part of the 20th century, Bayville became a popular recreational area and tourist attraction, which resulted in the construction of the third bridge in 1922, followed by the construction of the fourth and current bridge in 1938. And whereas the Bayville Bridge has greatly contributed to the economic and historical benefit to the village and became a major landmark and tourist attraction. Now therefore be resolved that the official logo of the Incorporated Village of Bayville shall be comprised of a circular medallion design showing the image of the west side of the Bayville Bridge, bordered by the words Incorporated Village of Bayville, Long Island, New York, copy of which is attached and made part of these minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the
I'll
logo?
make that motion.
Thank you, trustee Di Natale.
I'll second.
Thank you, trustee Santoro. Trustee Walsh?
Yes.
Trustee Santoro?
Yes.
Trustee Nigro?
And the assurances from the mayor that the bridge will eventually be opening.
It needs to be
I don't
visited.
Will it not only open, it will close.
So they couldn't close it, it's opening it.
Trustee Di Natale?
Yes.
Trustee DeBartolomeo?
Yes.
Trustee Belzetti?
Yes.
Mayor Minnikoski.
Yes.
The next item is for air conditioning at our community center, and the proposal is for all service air conditioning for a total of $9,500. This will be the first time that building has
All right.
air conditioning. So, do I have a motion to approve the proposal from all service?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, trustee Santoro.
I'll second.
Thank you, trustee Walsh. Trustee Walsh?
Yes.
Trustee Santoro?
Yes.
Trustee Nigro?
Yes.
Trustee Di Natale?
Yes.
Trustee DeBartolomeo?
Yes.
Trustee Belzetti?
Yes.
Mayor Minnikoski.
Yes.
Next item is a proposal from Rich Molina, and it's for the mooring services for the 2023 season. They have performed the service on an annual basis for the village. They inspect all moorings to be set. They set the moorings in the creek and the West Harbor. They are available to make a scheduled drop one in April, one in May, and one in June. They supply and install to the village two moorings that cost $350 each to the village. One is a courtesy one to be put at the creek, the other at West Harbor. They make additional mooring drops throughout the year, and they're available to remove and store any boats in violation of village codes or marine regulations. So this proposal is dated March 24th, 2023.
I make a motion.
Thank you, trustee DeBartolomeo.
I second.
Thank you, trustee Santoro. Trustee Walsh?
Yes.
Trustee Santoro?
Yes.
Trustee Nigro?
Yes.
Trustee Di Natale?
Yes.
Trustee DeBartolomeo?
Yes.
Trustee Belzetti?
Yes.
Mayor Minnikoski.
Yes.
The next item on the agenda, it came about a little bit in an emergency type situation. This is for the repair of a beam in the library. And it is a proposal from Rygrove Incorporated to prepare the beam for a cost of $8,700.
Yeah, what happened?
So the roof, apparently the old water department had been leaking for many, many years, but it was tucked away into a closet in the back, so nobody ever saw it. And when the library group did their demolition and exposed the beam that was severely rotted, so it needed to be temporarily secured, and now it needs to be replaced with a steel beam.
Is there a height?
No, there's no molding. It's all been, everything's been ripped out other than the beam itself.
I move on the library proposal.
I second.
Thank you, trustee Nigro, and thank you, trustee Santora. Trustee Walsh?
Yes.
Trustee Santora?
Yes.
Trustee Nigro?
Yes.
Trustee Vitale?
Yes.
Trustee DiBartolomeo?
Yes.
Trustee Valsecchi?
Yes.
Mayor Minicozzi?
Yes.
And then along the lines of talking about the renovations for the concessions, the renovations or building of the concession stand at West Harbor, this is a resolution to accept a proposal from JVAS Solutions for a total cost of $25,680. Again, as part of the grant, the DASM grant that the village has received. And this is to do the work at the concession stand at West Harbor.
I have a question about the concession stand. Years ago, there was a concession open at where the lifeguards are in the building. When I used to teach swimming there, where they had a concession.
Yes.
Will this concession be open to the residents at the beach as well, or is it just for the baseball? and
Well,
softball?
it's on the back side of the building, and they're the ones that are going to be manning it. I mean, if they want to make money, they can certainly open
Okay,
it
but
up.
if they're gonna be running it now,
Yes,
okay.
correct.
You know what it is, we
Do I have a
So it's gonna
motion?
be I'm sorry, so it'll be kind of backing up to the old one?
Yes.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I make a motion.
Thank you, trustee
A
DeBartolomeo.
second,
Thank you, trustee Santoro. Trustee Walsh?
Yes.
Trustee Santoro?
yes.
Trustee Nigro?
Yes.
Trustee Vitale?
Yes.
Trustee DeBartolomeo?
Yes.
Trustee Valsecchi?
Yes.
Mayor Minicozzi?
Yes.
Mayor and board, there are no other items on the agenda for this evening, so I will turn the meeting over to you, Mayor Minicozzi.
Does anybody have any questions? Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Before?
Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I apologize about that before. I'm not familiar with the process here when it comes to the public comment section. So again, my name is Kevin Casey. This is my wife, Fan. We live over at 381 Bayville Avenue. It's my first time here at this meeting tonight, but I want to bring to your attention an issue that we've been dealing with lately, namely the conduct and actions of your building inspector, Douglas Roy. Back on February 21st, while my wife was away with our daughter in New Jersey, I was back in Smithtown helping my mother and my father, who had a stroke. We received text messages saying that we got three tickets for building code violations and we were put on for court, which was scheduled for March 15th. In the interim, what happened was the complaint that we had, when we first moved here, this is the first home we bought. When we moved here, I decided I was going to coach softball for Bayville, Locust Valley Little League. They needed the help. Became close with one of the parents on the team, special needs child that he's, and she became pretty close with her. His home he was living in, which belonged to his mother, was being renovated, completely knocked down, rebuilt. He needed somewhere to stay. He was looking at moving miles away. The daughter struggled with change tremendously and other issues. We had extra space in the home that we bought, so we said, you know what, as being a friend, why don't you, maybe you could stay. And we based it upon shared expenses, shared monthly expenses. We never look at rent the place out. Now I understand legally as an attorney what how an apartment can be rented, what the building code is. But basically what we did is we did this out of generosity and goodness, and it backfired on us. Almost immediately wanted to become a problem. This person wasn't who we thought he was. There was drug use, there's some issues with, with loudness. Finally, after the freezing, we had burst pipes, which caused a hot water problem in the home, which we're still dealing with to this day. While I was at Home Depot picking up things for the repair, my wife and my mother-in-law were in the kitchen and had to deal with this gentleman come bursting through our front door, screaming and cursing in their face and intimidating them about him because he couldn't come home and take a hot shower after work. All right, so to me, seeing my wife what happened, that was the last straw. We decided this isn't going to continue any longer. Well, he became extremely vindictive at this situation when I gave him my peace of mind. And he was the one who lodged a complaint with the building inspector at Broad. Said that there was no hot water being given to the apartment, which was a complete fabrication. We were able to have the situation resolved that we could provide hot water. However, He needed to give us notice, we turn it on, tells us what's up, we turn it back on, because what it is the repair requires the entire foundation to be dug up until we locate a leak in a small pipe underneath the slab foundation. That's completely, we can't do that at this point right now, especially with the 6-year-old daughters go to school full-time. We have a scheduled project for work to be done in the summer, and, this is the plan. But we have hot water, everything is working, we're all getting by except for this individual, so you couldn't. So,
Is the guy still in the house still?
we're in the process of doing eviction proceedings, but his stuff is still there. I can't get him out, and this is what it comes down to, is that, the building inspector answered him, went and spoke to him, and issued us tickets right away for 3 building code violations. And I'll tell you what they are. The first one was not permitted use, which is the apartment, section 80, subsection 19 of the village code. Second one was construction without permit, section 13, subsection 7A, and 3, plumbing without permits, section 52, subsection 11. All this occurred under the prior owner of the land, who many of you know. And when we first moved in, we actually made unsolicited contact to the building inspector to tell him that we believe that there were violations on the property, that we would like to work with him to have them cured and included in upcoming construction and renovation projects that we had going on. And this is when we first closed on the house back in November of 2021. All right, he was dismissive, quick, hung up the phone, never responded to us, didn't do anything, didn't care. But we get this phone call, we get these 3 tickets, and we have to answer. And not only do we get it, but we deal with a tenant who was unhinged, hostile, unpredictable, and frankly has my wife and my daughter fearing for their safety when I'm not around. And I don't blame them. All right, and so that compounded the issue. So we go to court. And we meet with the prosecutor on the 15th. And I raised to him, I believe that there were serious Fourth Amendment consent issues when it came to Inspector Groth obtaining access to the home. He knew who the owner was. He knew that person wasn't the owner. He knew he didn't have the legal authorization to consent, because he knew who the owner was. This wasn't a case of mistaken, just thinking, oh, this person probably may, no, he knew who it was, but yet he still used him to gain consent to our home to search. I was able to cover caseload, show the details, issues with bad faith consent procurement. It could be, may not be, but during the conference with the prosecutor, we never contested the actual existence of the violations. And we even gave verbal assurances that we would take care of him. But I did comment on his conduct, his unprofessional behavior, how nasty he was to my wife, the fact he refuses to answer, hangs up on her after yelling at her, refuses to call me back to discuss matters, all right? And has just been completely inappropriate in his dealings with us. And, uncovering documents from the closing of our home. Our prior owner, he had significant violations in the backyard, which were real safety issues. You know what he was given? He was given a letter that said a notice of violation. No enforcement action was taken. Nothing was done. There was a date set the day to be cured. They weren't even cured, and the violations were never put in. They were never enforced.
May I ask who the building inspector was when?
Douglas Groth, was signed by him.
With the prior?
Absolutely. And as far as I'm concerned, and I did some research, there's quite a bit of federal district court cases out there, and also state Supreme Court cases for Bayville Village, and mentioning him specifically with selective enforcement of the code. And that's troubling, given the scope, the size of the village and the scope of what his enforcement duties are. And now we're dealing with that real life, firsthand, it bothers me. Now, to top it all, if we're still dealing with this with the tenant, we're trying to get him out, having no luck, because there's so many protections that tenants have in New York. It's extremely difficult. Well, we're working on it. Gave him notice. We're going to file holdover proceedings. Notified the prosecutor of this. During our conference, we agreed to a 60-day adjournment, and in the interim, I would give him the memorandum of law discussing and outlining our arguments. No other action was supposed to be taken. The 17th, Inspector Groth decides to go and put a placard on the outside of our home, which renders that part of our home unsafe, and we're not allowed to enter the premises. These actions were taken without any knowledge or anything. I mean, I grew up in Smithtown, Suffolk County. I've worked at the local level, government, town, village, worked in Suffolk County. I understand the interest that's involved here. I've been an attorney. There's a professional courtesy that you give people. That, if there's going to be further action taken, you let me know, so at least we're prepared for it. Try to mitigate it. Prosecutor wasn't even aware that this was taking place because I spoke. This was, This was unilateral action that he took upon himself to do it. And why? Probably because he was upset and had his feelings hurt because I challenged his attitude and arrogance in front of him, in front of the prosecutor in that conference. And that's what it was. He was right there and he saw, and you could see visibly he was uncomfortable. 2 days later, we get hit with that. And I'll tell you, we love it here. I do. Grew up on Long Island, met my wife out in Suffolk. We were in Queens for a little bit. We had a 6-year-old daughter. It was perfect for it. Great. It's our first home that we owned. The summer here, you guys talk about how it was the best summer I've had. Just being around a small, local, the close-knit community, all right? Being a softball coach, meeting people, getting acclimated to the community was great. But I don't understand what this is coming from or what this is about. There are other ways for this to be taken care of, all right? I mean, even New York State, which rendered suggestions to local village code enforcement officers, said that the first initial point of contact should be an informal discussion to make them aware of what the issues are going on or notice of violation. Jump straight to enforcement, all right? And also with that placard, now that we have everything that's going on with the tenant, it provides him the only defense that he could possibly have to continue and delay the eviction proceedings and defeat a summary judgment motion as we're going to try to get this case done. What we should do is raise a credible defense. Well, guess what? By rendering the premises unsafe, that's exactly what Inspector Groth provided him. He provided him with at least a facially reasonable claim, a defense for constructive eviction. When he didn't have it, this is a guy who's done everything wrong and he's just done nothing. We've been walked all over. And I question whether there was a personal relationship that existed between the two of them prior to this. Maybe this is just something that we don't know about. Swears it's not the case. Well, then I'd like to know why this is happening. Why are we being singled out? Why are we having this sort of enforcement taken against us? We've done nothing wrong. We've tried to cooperate. We've been good, productive citizens here. We haven't caused any issues. All right, we love it here. We're proud to be members of this community. We volunteer. But under no circumstances am I going to think it's okay or be all right with the fact that a village enforcement official can just say, hey, I'm going to go walk in your home and search, get consent, and I want to run. That's not going to fly with me. Nuh-uh.
Have you spoken to him since you got this notice posted on your door?
No, I will not do it because I don't believe that. I don't believe it's.
Out of work too.
It's-
They try to pay him every card, he's out of work.
We did. We came the next day.
He was on vacation, I guess, last
Well,
week.
it's convenient that he goes and gets us with that the day before he goes on vacation. And frankly, to be honest with you, I mean, I contacted the prosecutor because these are arising from the tickets. He shouldn't be contacting or taking enforcement on us without going through the prosecutor. All right, and that contact should come through him. There's further action that's going to be taken, not by the inspector himself. I shouldn't be contacting the inspector as a defendant in that home, but yet I have to. All right, and I don't think that's improper. And there has to be, and I know that. Mayor, he precedes you. I don't know. I mean, it makes me think possibly that something has gone on for there to be a culture and environment for him to be able to act the way that he wants to. Reckless abandon. It's not. We cannot accept that at this point.
I'm sorry, I have a question. I lost you a little bit in the beginning. You bought the house. You said there were some violations you wanted cleared up, and he didn't respond. Did you subsequently, when you had this gentleman move in, did you create a new apartment for this person?
No, everything that was done, even the alleged violations, they were all done, and the construction was done from the prior owner. We've done nothing.
Okay, is there a second kitchen in the house?
There are connections to it, but it wasn't exactly a kitchen. And yes, he did bring certain things in to make it a kitchen.
Even if it was done previously, doesn't mean that the...
That's perfectly fine, and I'm okay.
Doesn't mean that it's legal.
No, I understand that, Justine. We are not challenging the fact that these violations are there. They are. I mean, they exist. They were done on the prior owner. He did a bunch of construction and alterations on the house without seeking permits or anything, and we got to take care of it. And we understand that, and we're going to. But I'm talking about the conduct and the behavior of your inspector is what I'm talking about. That is the issue that I'm having. What's going on with the tickets, the violations, the apartment, whether or not they're there, we will handle that with the prosecutor, and we'll reach a disposition that's fair for everybody involved. But the actions that have been taken subsequent to that constitute harassment and vindictiveness, and I'm not going to tolerate it under any circumstances. Wouldn't be tolerated if that was a Nassau County police officer. But he has the same powers in enforcement of your code as the Nassau County Police do of the penal law of New York State. He must abide by the same Fourth Amendment requirements for a warrant or an exception that police officers do. And frankly, his conduct has been egregious and abhorrent.
My point of my questioning was, if you knew that there were, and I'm not saying anyone is at fault or not at fault, I'm just trying to understand, if you knew that there were violations when you purchased the house and you were not supposed to have another person living as a second family in the home, and you did, the inspector might be looking at that as you kind of knew what you were doing, and maybe he was not happy with that. I'm just trying to understand it all. I'm not putting
I
blame
understand
on
that.
you,
No, I got you.
on him or anybody. I'm just trying to.
We would get that, but all he needed to do was have that informal discussion with us. And we would have taken
I
it.
understand that.
I
I'm just
guess
trying to see maybe where he went straight to the appearance tickets because you were somewhat.
I would understand that, except when, that was what we considered possibly, maybe, he just doesn't know us, we have to try and work it out. But the steps that were taken without even notifying the prosecutor to render the premises unsafe, there is nothing that is unsafe about it, and he's rendering it unsafe and do not enter. That, to me, is going over the line, crossing the line, that really eliminates any sort of innocence or confusion.
Well, obviously, he's not here. I'd like to hear his side of the story, which I'll get tomorrow.
So just to answer your question furthermore, after I bought the home, I have email exchange with Mr. Groff, and that was just one reply and no more. There's no more following up from him, nothing else, like my husband has said, dismissive, I have never heard from him back. So there's nothing else that we can do at that point. And then February 21st, my husband and I was in New Jersey. Actually, that was one big winter recess. I was a teacher, having promised my daughter, and Mr. Gross just called me. I taped 3 tickets to the front door. What? What do you mean? And that's the 3 tickets. And I asked him, how did you get into my house? Mr. Wimmer sent me. I was like,
I'm sorry, how did he get into the house?
The tenant just let him in.
And I was like, well, obviously you're calling me right now. You know who I am. I own this house. We have exchanged email before, right? How did you just get in and start searching my houses and give me 3 tickets? I don't understand what is going on, right? And March 15th, we met up with prosecutor to do this meeting, right? Adjourned. With documents.
Did Mr. Wimmer have his own entrance?
There is access, but it also connected to the home.
It's our house.
Basically, listen, I called him a tenant, and
He
I'll
has
tell
the
you.
key, Mr. Wimmer has the key?
Oh, no, absolutely not. There was no lock.
There's no key.
There was no key. It was not locked. It was, anybody can go in or out through that entrance. And also,
And Mr. Wimmer did.
And he did, and then he also changed the locks after he got the building inspector there, and wouldn't allow us to go in to even inspect what these alleged violations were. So, these are things.
He entered into Mr. Wimmer's portion of the premises?
I believe he came to the front house. We don't know exactly.
We don't know.
He wasn't forthcoming exactly in the meeting.
Were any of the violations in any other part of your house?
Mr. Gross didn't even latch anything. He just said.
We haven't received a supporting
I said,
deposition.
How do
So
you
you
get?
got 3 violations, and you don't know whether they relate to Mr. Wimmer's portion or the rest of the house?
Well, I called him that. This is all connected in one. You have to understand, there was nothing that separates where he was supposed to be. I called him a tenant only because I've been drafting so many of the legal documents we've been submitting in the case. But the fact of the matter is we made the mistake is we let him in, and we really just brought him in just because we had the extra space. There was no, it's even memorialized in our agreement. It was never our intent. It's something that we're dealing with that we regret doing. And I referred to him that, but he had access to the whole home. The home was never cut off. Yeah.
I am a lawyer. I was
Yeah.
assistant district attorney for 25 years. When you raise the questions of the 4th Amendment, I'm trying to figure out what you think violated the 4th Amendment. Mr. Groff going into your house after being admitted by Mr. Wimmer, and you're saying that the violations were not in the other part of the house, they were in Mr. Wimmer's part of the house.
My point is, and I had those questions too. I'm pretty familiar with it, understand it. I practiced criminal defense myself for a while over in Suffolk, so I'm pretty familiar with the 4th Amendment, the consent, and all that. In doing some research, there is some case law precedent out there regarding when a law enforcement officer obtains consent from an individual, in a bad faith manner, and seeks to go around to a case, seeks going around the order contains some third-party consent with the knowledge, and so, I mean,
It's easy, you're reading a lot more into this than I was asking about. Just trying to find out what you alleged Mr. Groff did with respect to your rights and your part of the house.
frankly, entering our home without our permission or consent in violation of the Fourth Amendment. He went there to investigate a complaint of a violation.
I understand how you look at it. Thank you.
Weren't you here the other day to meet with the court clerk? What was the outcome of that meeting?
We got absolutely nowhere with it. She was trying to tell us that he was doing it to help us, but she didn't know for sure, which I mean, she basically was just trying to encourage us to get to district court and, try and expedite the removal proceedings. There was really no resolution for it.
I mean, I don't know what we could solve tonight, other than if you want to leave your phone number, I'll speak to Doug tomorrow and then I'll call you.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not asking for anybody to intervene or anything. I know that would be unethical, improper, and probably illegal. I mean, frankly, all of this is, like I said, we're happy to be here, we're proud to be here, but I feel it's incumbent upon me to bring to your attention, as the village officials, the conduct of what's going on with one of your enforcement officers. I know that this isn't, I know I'm not pulling this out of left field.
I ask you one more question.
Yeah, sure.
Was there anything about Mr. Groff's conduct other than the fact that it resulted in 3 citations to you?
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. He was dismissive. Well, first of all, he hung up on my wife, was very nasty, hung up on her, wouldn't answer questions. I tried to contact.
Was he nasty or he just hang out?
He was screaming at me on the phone.
Screaming?
Because I questioned him how did he get in, what was the 3 tickets about. When I started asking him questions, he just hung up on me. And I waited minutes and I called back.
Was he, I'm sorry. Did he scream at you over the phone?
He spoke to me in a very, very unpleasant manner. He was,
Okay.
over the phone, he was
Okay, you
screaming.
characterize it as unpleasant, I understand. But was there anything else he did?
And I had to call back, and then I asked him, why did you hang up on me?
And he said?
And he said he's not answering why and how he got into the house. These are the things I have to do. I said, I am going to do it, but I also wanted to understand why, and he would not discuss it any further. And my husband called him back, and he never, running to voicemail, never called him back.
Okay, so he was, at most times unresponsive to your phone calls
Unpleasant,
and your
unresponsive, just
Okay, I just want to
not very
understand
helpful at all.
what the gentleman is alleged to have done.
And also, Trustee Nygaard, what I have to say is, given his capacity as the building inspector and his enforcement powers, I mean, my main complaint, biggest issue was the final action that was taken on the 17th, with the case pending, with nothing being brought up, no notice being given.
Receiving those violations?
No, not the violations per se. The violations are
No.
the final, after we had the first appearance and we were arraigned and we agreed to a 60-day adjournment. That was Wednesday evening. Friday morning, Inspector Groff came and declared the premises unsafe and would not permit entry into the home. That was not discussed by the prosecutor. That was not brought up. And he was a party to the conference that we had where I alleged a lot of these behaviors. And frankly, I believe it was vindictive. I mean, that's him with his enforcement powers.
That's you're entitled to your opinion. That's a characterization of what he did as being vindictive. But I'm just trying to find out what the extent was of his behavior, his conduct. That's certainly what this board is concerned.
We can take with unpleasant people, I mean, I deal with them all the time, plenty times, I mean, and especially my wife, her to get upset, it takes a lot, all right, but that's not really it. I mean, I would be more concerned, I am more concerned about about a possible enforcement officer using his power as enforcing your code in a manner that is abusive and frankly overly punitive.
That's another
You can allege,
thing
but
entirely. Okay.
That's what I'm alleging.
He was not abusive, but not cooperative with you, and he issued you citation. Okay. Thank you.
I think that's an unfair characterization. I believe
I'm
you
not
tried to
characterizing it. I'm just trying to decide what.
I think there's like a little bit more to that, to be honest with you, Trustee Nygaard, and I think I've made that rather clear as well too. I think it's a little bit more than a disagreement, somebody's feelings being hurt because we got tickets. That isn't an issue. nor would it be. We would take care of it. We've always said that we would. Never challenged that aspect.
You,
Under any
beyond that, you
circumstances.
said you think he's been doing this
The
vindictively.
final action was taken vindictively,
Okay,
absolutely,
that's-
without a doubt.
That's what you, I asked you, and that's what you tell me.
Yes, and that's
We're
without.
not characterizing that, that's what you said.
Okay.
Okay.
Again, I'll speak to him tomorrow, and if you want to leave your number, I'll give you a call after I talk to him.
All right, thank you very much for listening, for hearing us tonight. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Rob?
Do I have to say my name? Paul Rupp, 94 Godfrey Avenue, Bayville, New York. I just want to, thanks everybody for your service, I always appreciate it. Just want to bring your attention, on my walk to the village like last week, I just went into West Harbor, and I don't know if it's been brought to anybody's attention, but I think we had the tennis courts redone like 5 years ago, and I think Maria will have to pull out the contract. One of the tennis courts on the far right-hand side is cracked right through. One of the end, I don't know if he calls it, I'm not a tennis player. Baseline to the other baseline is a huge crack, which is separating the tennis court.
That might have just happened this winter, because
What's that?
I was playing on it this past fall.
Or whatever, I don't know, but it's, I visited there 2 weeks ago just to take a
Yeah,
walk.
it was
And that thing, I think you should look at the contract. All I'm trying to do is for the betterment of the village, try to call a contractor back, see if there's language in the contract that we had done for the tennis courts and the contract, if there's some type of warranty in there, to call the guy back to fix it, because it's only gonna get worse, and it's something that, we prided ourselves on in getting done, and for a tennis court, not even to last 5 or 6 years, I mean, it's ridiculous.
No, I don't think he was there. It's interesting, because I played on it a lot this summer and fall, and I don't think that
The left hand, the front court is fine, perfect. It's the court closest to the baseball fields. If somebody goes down there tomorrow just to take a look at it, you'll see what and I don't think, my opinion, I'm not a contractor. I know a quick fix is everybody just, puts tar in it or whatever. It's not gonna work. So if you had the chance to call a contractor back and have them redo the work, I think that would be strongly advisable. I don't know what the contract says, if you had to put some type of bond down and warranty for a certain number of years, but, I mean, it's
worth looking into.
worth looking into. I just wanna bring it to your attention.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That's the most important thing in the village. Thank you.
What's that?
Most important thing in the village.
Well, now that you're fixing up West Harbor with the, the concession stands, I mean, it's just, somebody's gonna, I don't know. You
If
guys
you
know
play
better.
tennis, you can get a hot dog now.
You mean tennis? No, I don't play tennis. I wouldn't even know how to use it.
And we can show those pickleball players.
I wouldn't know how to use it.
Yeah.
Just wanna bring it to
Really
you,
important.
just wanna bring it to you. Should have somebody, take a look at it tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well,
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hi guys, Laura Lavona, 246 Bayville Avenue. Quick question. Is how do you say it, Asplund? Asplund, okay. Are they done with the gas lines?
Not even close.
Okay, because I'm still smelling gas. I just wanted to check and make sure.
They have to go all the way to a point with that line. They got a long way to go.
That's what I figured,
We
okay.
want to put some more plates down at Kings Lane.
No, please, I could not live through that again, I really couldn't. The other thing, all right, the bridge. End of April now, opening?
We hope.
We hope that's the
I
same.
see. Because I heard end of May, maybe.
No, no,
What
we-
a
I
little
mean,
birdie told
I can
me.
tell you, we've never been told that. We published the letter that we were given.
Right. Well, then the little birdie's fibbing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And not, it's really not under our control.
I know, but I figured if you knew, you would tell us. Right?
Well, we sent a letter that we.
I saw that, end of April.
I'll tell you, I speak with them regularly,
Right,
probably twice a week. But I'm not gonna put out information that they tell me. When they give it to me in writing, I release it to you.
I know. I mean, I was just reading on one of the Bayville groups,
That's the problem with those Bayville groups online.
Yeah.
You just don't
Don't
look
let
at
that
Facebook.
be.
I turned it off.
No, I just read them and laugh, and I just did say the other day, I was like, go to the board meeting if you have questions.
Yes, that's it.
That's it, okay.
Well,
That would cause them to have to go out the doors.
Well, that's what I
But
said.
we want
Deal
this
with
to be
people.
fixed correctly. So
Of
whatever
course.
they need to do, if it means it has to be closed for several months, it's for our betterment in the long run.
I thought you were,
It's
I'm not the one
frustrating.
complaining too much because I don't have to go that way.
I thought you were gonna complain
I
about
think
having to
people
go
will
into
know that
oncoming
crowd
traffic
complaining.
when you drive east on Bayville Avenue in front of the Chinese restaurant, because I know I have to avoid that.
It's not bad anymore.
We had it
Well,
fixed
no,
the
what
next
happens
day,
is
they
when
were
you
there.
have the people coming west, they avoid that patch and they go on to the
But I've been
east.
driving over it every morning.
You know, a lot of people
You
don't.
can see the crack in the tennis court.
I've been going up.
There was no crack in the tennis court and stuff.
Well, you're going by on your little, what is it, your little Ducati over there, right? Is that what it is? Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? No? All right.
Okay, I'll have a motion, I'll ask for a motion to close the meeting at 7:31 PM. Thank you, trustee Bartolome. Thank you, trustee Natale. Trustee Walsh.
Yes.
Trustee Santoro.
Yes.
Trustee Nyberg.
Yes.
Trustee Natale.
Yes.
Trustee Bartolome. Yes. Trustee Valiquette.
Yes.
Mayor Michaelozzi.
Yes.
You did.